please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, a very good afternoon. You're watching Your Stocks on CNBC TV18. I'm Ekta Batra. With me is Nigel D'Souza, and it's turning out to be actually a session where we've picked up some amount of pace for the market. So we're up around 0.5% currently for the Nifty, and courtesy the Bank Nifty, which is up around 0.5%. So we have a lot of participation which is coming in from that front, private as well as the public sector banks, especially after the boost with regards to bank recapitalization. But besides that, we have a mid-cap index which is also outperforming. So we're up around 0.7% currently for the mid-cap index. The real problem seems to start in the last hour of trade, but it seems as though right now the indicators are quite stable as compared to yesterday, because we've built on gains from the start of the trading session and not the other way around. So let's see whether this manages to maintain or not. But as of now, it seems as though 10,500 or thereabout for the Nifty seems to be a steady position.
Absolutely, Ekta. I think for the first time in 2018, we're here at around 2 p.m. and the markets, in fact, have moved to the high point of the day. In the last few trading sessions at around 2:30 p.m., we have seen the Nifty get a little bit nervous. So good to see that, in fact, we're moving towards the 10,500 mark. We've done a U-turn, mind you, from that mark. But what's encouraging to see is the 10,400 put. Now, that was active from the word go. That's added close to around 8 lakh shares over there. So telling you that the bulls feel, yes, we can defend this 10,400 mark. They're saying, let us eat into this premium of around 80 rupees. And then, in fact, they'll be confident that they can defend the 10,320. But what's also good is gradually we've been moving up, particularly in the last 1 hour. And what I've noticed is the 10,500 put, oh, there as well we are seeing some addition. So now, in fact, there is a bit of confidence that's coming back into the market from the bull side. The bears, they'll say, well, we defended the 10,500, 10,550 mark. We look to defend that mark yet again. So we'll keep an eye out on both those two strikes. The PCR as well, after moving to around 1.65, it came down to around 1.4. Now it's moving towards 1.47. So just keep an eye out on that mark. Decisively crossing the 10,500 mark, that's going to be something the street is going to be looking at. Remember, we're moving towards the 10,500 mark, 10,490, and quickly we have lost roughly around around 10 points. So I think a couple of stocks would have seen some bit of selling in the last few minutes. Bharti Airtel, I think, has come in low, and ICICI Bank, that's been the naughty boy. That's moved lower, and that explains why, in fact, we have shaved off. Just take a look at Bharti Airtel. Pull up ICICI Bank as well. That as well has seen some selling pressure. So keep an eye out on those two stocks. That's what explains the 8 to 10 points that we saw quickly went off from the Nifty. But let's get in our guest. We have Rajat Bose as well as Avinash. Both of them are there with us to answer the technicals as well as the fundamentals. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, our first query has already come in. Rakesh writes to us from Jodhpur. He holds around 150 shares of Glenmark at around 562 rupees for the last 2 months. He's a long-term investor, mind you. He wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. Avinash, coming across to you. He's got lucky, actually. A lot of investors in the last 1 year who call us and talk about Glenmark, they're not making money. He's making some money. Will he make more money, or do you think he should book his profits and just enjoy himself?
No, I think, Nigel, I think as far as Glenmark is concerned, I think, if the investment horizon is over a period of, say, next 12 to 18 months, I'm quite sure that Glenmark would definitely benefit from its new product molecule development. And, in the short term, the volatility in margins as well as the top line, especially from the US markets, could remain a little bit under pressure. But if the medium term horizon is there, I think, the investor can definitely hold on. There's no need to, sell out in a panic or in a hurry. Numbers would take some time to stabilize, but FY19 should be a lot better compared to last year. So I think within the pharma space, this could be a good contra bet, but provided the horizon is at least 12 to 18 odd months.
Okay, well, Rajat, what would your call be on Glenmark?
So I would say since 2015, the month of August, when it actually clocked a high of 1262.90. After that, if you look at the long-term chart, you will see that there is a downtrend that is going on. I mean, just like Sun Pharma, this stock is on a downtrend. Only in the last month, there had been some minor signs that the downtrend might well get arrested. But for a confirmation, we need the stock to at least move beyond 650. Only after that you would see some kind of traction coming back. But for this gentleman who is already making some money, I would say that you put a stop loss below 570 on closing price basis, and if that level were to be taken out, then be certain that it would hit 540 again. So hold on so long as 570 doesn't get broken. But I'm not as optimistic as Avinash.
Okay, not as optimistic, but it seems there is some optimism that's building into the pharma stocks as we speak. Unichem Laboratories, they've got a rather large amount of cash in their books, so the street is hoping there is going to be a rather large buyback. That's what explains the stock is at a 360. But from the Nifty pack, Sun Pharma is just moving higher as we speak. It was trading mildly in the red just an hour ago. That stock, just take a look at it, spiking up in the last few minutes. Ekta, you want to say something on that?
No, we have Spark, the R&D arm also, which is spiking up. So there seems to be a lot of focus in terms of Sun Pharma, at least in terms of triggers for the next couple of days, that what could probably happen with the Halol facility, whether there could be any sort of re-inspection on the cards, because the US FDA has, there's a new year which has begun. So that whole Christmas break is over for a lot of these companies. So there is a lot of hope.
Then things are looking good, but just one stock before we go to our next query. I think Unitech should come up for you on the screen. I think there was some big volatility that we saw on that one. So if you could get that stock up for you on the screen, it'll tell us the picture. Yeah, just take a look at that. It's down close to around 10%. It's only a seller now that's available on Unitech. So just be careful of these stocks. Some of them have doubled, and then suddenly, like what's happened currently, suddenly it's moved to the low point of the day. In fact, there's only sellers now at the low point, so it's down 10%. Keep your eye out on that one. But I think we have another query. It comes in from Manoj, who writes to us from Kolkata. He holds around 700 shares of Motherson Sumi at around 200 rupees since the last 1.5 years. Long-term investor, wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. Rajat, coming across to you, Motherson Sumi, your take?
See, Motherson Sumi, you can hold it with a stop below 340, and since he has purchased and carrying on, the trend is on, you can. But one thing, Nigel, to put things in perspective, Motherson Sumi, this is the 10th year that it is still on a long-term uptrend. So at some point in time, growth forges its own anchor, and with 80,000 crore plus valuations, I don't know how much upside is left, but since the trend continues, as a technical analyst, I have to say that you hold it with a stop below 340. That's the kind of perspective that I have to offer.
Okay, all right, very good going for Motherson Sumi. Rajat, if I heard you correctly, you said this is the 10th consecutive year of it being in an uptrend?
Not 10th consecutive year, but 10 years into an uptrend. There had been months when it actually went down, for sometimes for 7-8 months it went down. Otherwise, it's a one-way traffic to the moon, kind of.
Well, let's get in a couple of more queries now. We have Mahabir Khaitan, who writes to us from Chennai, holds 3,100 shares of Suzlon, which he's bought at 22.6 and is holding on since the past 6 years, long-term investor, and wants to know whether to hold or sell that particular stock. Well, Avinash, what would you recommend on this? Because it's a tough call, sitting on it for 6 years. Do you recommend taking the hit and probably reinvesting your funds, or maybe even averaging out at current levels?
No, I think my sense is, I think at least for the next 3 to 4 quarters, I think Suzlon would definitely face challenging headwinds. I think already the second quarter was quite dismal. In fact, the markets were not expecting a poor show from Suzlon. And I think clearly within the wind market, tariffs have also come down quite significantly. So my suggestion is, despite the fact that he might have to take a hit on his capital, I think, other relatively better players within the power transmission space, something like a KC would be a better choice. So I think here not only earnings visibility, but even the order book is very strong, and I think the investor could make a better risk reward as compared to Suzlon. So I think a switch should be advisable.
Okay, all right. So that's the view then. A switch to KC is in fact. And let's get straight to our next query. We have Sumit Kumar, who writes to us from Kolkata. He holds around 50 shares of KPIT Technologies at a price of around 177 since the last 1 month. Short-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell the stock. Okay, making very, very small gains as of now. Rajat, short-term investor, I'll have to come across to you.
It's on a strong uptrend, and I would suggest a stop loss that is 182 and ride the trend so long as it continues. That's the kind of advice that I can give on KPIT for short term.
Okay, all right, Rajat as well as Avinash, thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of your queries, all of the queries this afternoon. That's all the time that we have on the show. Remember, you can keep sending us all of your questions